Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for your time. Zurich are delighted to be working with IVC and providing you with your company pension scheme. For those of you who don't know, maybe a quick introduction on Zurich. We're one of the largest pension providers in Ireland. We've been operating here, providing pensions for about 40 years. And our key areas are around administration, governance, so the trusteeship of the scheme, investment management, and of course, working with the employees to help you understand, or the members of the scheme, to help you understand how the scheme works, and understand the importance of financial planning and give you as much information as we can to improve your pension adequacy. So the role of myself and Lenny is a contact point for you. So if there's any day-to-day queries, our administration team will support you. But if you need any support in how pension schemes work, how they might tie in with other arrangements that you have, we'll be able to provide you with some guidance on that, and particularly around the investments section, which Lenny will talk to you later on. So Lenny, I'll hand over to you, and by all means, if anybody has any questions, they can either jump in at any time, or we can take questions later on, or we're available to do one-to-one if you'd rather, not do it in a group session. We can chat to you about your own position individually. All right, thanks, Lenny.
Cheers, Mark, and thanks everyone for your time this morning. Do please put into the chat as well if you want any questions. Or as Mark says, we will be available for one-to-ones afterwards. So just to get into the pension and kind of its place and its importance in your overall, I guess, well-being. It's now we talk about this, obviously many forms of well-being, social, physical, mental well-being, and they're all extremely important. And one element of it is the financial well-being side. And that's where your pension comes in, and obviously that's to help provide for like saving for your retirement, and providing that financial security in retirement that you have, that you can kind of change from saying I'm retiring from work as opposed to thinking I'm retiring to something, be it a holiday home in Spain or whatever way you want to spend your retirement, or golfing, and to be able to enjoy it to the maximum, because the state pension, which is obviously an important part of your retirement, it's currently at about 13,000 euro per annum. The aim of the state, kind of by the government, is to keep people out of poverty. It's not necessarily to have a good retirement or the way you want to live your own retirement, and everyone's means are different. But that's where your company pension can help to really improve that. You can get the state pension from the age of 66 at the moment. There was a proposal to increase it, but in the last few days you may have seen they've come out and said that they don't want. Our opposition just kind of said no increases. So that's yet to be seen when we can actually get it. And I guess that's the important thing really, and point to take from that is not necessarily in our control at any time when we can get the state pension, but what is in your control is your own company pension. Obviously, the more you earn, the bigger the gap will be, and that's what we call the earnings gap between what the state pension will provide and your income while you were working. And to bridge that gap, and so it's not as much of a shock to the system in terms of the finance, because you may still have some bills to pay at that stage, mortgage or college, kids through college, etc. That's where your pension's coming in. So how it actually works is the defined contribution pension scheme. So many people might have been familiar with a defined benefit. They're kind of the older range of benefits. There's not many of them around as much as there used to be. And defined contribution is the prominent model in Ireland for saving for your retirement. So there's kind of two main things that will impact what you get at retirement. So it's the amount that you've saved in, so the contributions going in, and that's your employer is there to help you with it. And we'll go through that in a second. How much you put in. And then you're getting the tax relief on the benefits as well. So you're kind of putting in more than it's costing you, so to speak. And we'll go through that. And then how the funds perform. And Zurich will look after the funds, the fund side of it and the investment side of it. It's very important for you to understand it, but you don't have to make individual stock selection or anything like that. And it's probably the key point where employers decide to partner with Zurich is our investment outperformance, because in a defined contribution pension scheme, your investment performance really is what defines the end point of what pension you'll get. So we'll look after that, but we'll go into the contribution side. So employer will match 2% of your 2% contribution. So when you contribute 2%, they will also contribute 2%. That's the subject. That's the scheme rules. That's not a limit on what you can contribute. You can contribute much more, and we'd obviously encourage you to do that, because that's how you'll get the maximum out of your contribution, and that's and out of your pension and in retirement. And you'll contribute that there'll be additional voluntary contributions. There's no cost for those employer contributions, and any investment growth that you have within it isn't subject to tax. So for anyone who does have any savings plans, or even in a bank, you get charged DIRT, which is in essence a tax. And you could be paying up to 41% depending on what investment vehicle you're using. In a pension scheme, there's no growth on that tax, so it is the most tax efficient vehicle for saving in Ireland. Obviously then, if you're getting very good investment returns, then it's a significant benefit to you. So I just kind of want to, that's the scheme rules, and what to join the scheme, that's kind of what you'd be opting into. But really the difference, as I said, between having a kind of good retirement and a great retirement really is additional voluntary contributions. As I mentioned, you don't have control over when you can get the state pension, but in Ireland you can retire as early as 50. So if you're looking to retire early, obviously you need a fund to live on for a longer time. So, contributing as much as possible gives you that option if you're ever looking at it, or if you are ever looking at early retirement. And obviously how you enjoy your retirement as well. They're tax efficient, so you get very generous tax relief, which you can see on the bottom right hand side there. So it's based on your age, it's based on your age and a percentage of your salary up to €115,000 per annum. So if you're under 30, you can contribute up to 15% of your salary into your pension, and you get tax relief at your own marginal rate. So it's very, very generous, and that increases over time as well. So if you're 60 and over and you're closer to retirement, you can contribute up to 40% of your salary, which is pretty good, because if you're putting it in and you're getting it and you're a 40% taxpayer, you're automatically saving that, and you're pulling it out in a very short space of time. ABCs are, well, the 2% match 2% is kind of a condition of the scheme. ABCs are flexible, so in some months where you might have a bit more cash flow, you might want to increase it, or again, then on the other side, if there's other months that you want a bit more cash flow, you might want to decrease it. You can pay them via regular premium or lump sum separate of the scheme as well. The only thing is, if you pay with lump sum, you'll have to go to revenue to claim the tax relief after the fact. And many people do that to reduce their tax liability from the previous year as well. So there's a tax deadline for anyone who submits an annual return, and they'll contribute to their pension and to reduce their overall tax liability. And it's a key feature of it. So to kind of go into the detail of that a bit more for anyone who isn't familiar with it, you'll get tax relief at your own marginal rate. So if you're a 20% or a 40% income taxpayer, you'll get it at that rate. So if you're 20% income taxpayer, for every €100 you'll contribute, you'll see a reduction in your take-home pay now of €80. So the 20% that would have gone to the taxman, instead of going to the taxman now, you'll get €100 into your pension. So it's a bit better again for the 40%. So for every €100 you say, I'll save for my retirement, instead of paying €40 to the taxman, you're paying €100 into your pension, but you're only seeing a reduction in your take-home pay of €60 now. So if you marry that with the employer contribution, it can be very, very powerful in terms of saving for your retirement, and you're getting a lot more the bang for your buck at that point. So that's a very simple kind of way of how the tax relief works, but I'll kind of go through a bit of a working example for you. So your employer will put in 2% per month, it's 2%, so it's €50 per month. You'll match that gross amount of €50. You get tax relief at 20%, so it's €10 per month. And then the total that'll go into your pension is obviously €100 because it's the gross amount, but you'll see a reduction in your salary or your take-home pay of €40 per month. So there's a few figures there, but I guess the key two bubbles there are the bottom two bubbles. So if you're a 20% tax relief, you'll say, look, I'm going to say €40 for my retirement now, and see that reduction in my salary, you'll get €100. So you're over doubling your money. And that's obviously the power of the employer contributing to you and the tax relief on top of it. For anyone who's a 40% taxpayer, it's even better again. So for the 2% putting in, it'd be €75 per month. The tax relief would be €30 that you would have paid to the taxman. And then you can see on the bottom two slides, or the bottom two bubbles, for you saying €45, for you getting €150 of total contributions into your take-home pay or into your pension, you'll see a reduction of €45 per month into it. So again, really, it is the benefit of your employer paying into your pension and the tax relief on top of that. So that's how the tax relief works. It's fairly simple in terms of the matching contribution, but it can be quite powerful for you in terms of saving for your retirement. So I'll just move on to the investment side of it, which for many people can be kind of confusing, and they don't want to make a decision. And I guess that's my purpose really, is to try and explain it to you. So there's a default option there. Default isn't necessarily it's bland or vanilla or anything like that. It's a very, very good option, and anyone will be defaulted into this. Once you join this scheme, you'll get issued out a member booklet, web access, and you'll also get an investment decision form. So if you do have an interest in a specific fund, or you wish to make kind of, you're interested in investments and you have something that you want to do, and we'll issue a kind of where you can find some more information on it, you can then decide to change your investment. How the scheme works, or the investment side works, is it's a lifestyling strategy, and it de-risks as you near retirement. And what it's called is actually personalized guide path. So this is how the strategy works. It's based on your term to retirement. So we'll have 3 stages. There's the early growth stage, which is 15 years out from retirement, and you'd be invested in what's called Prisma 5. And Prisma 5 is just the name of the fund, and the numbers beside them are important. And there's an ESMA rating scale. It's the European measurement for risk to return. So it's a 1 to a 7, 7 being the highest, and 1 being the least risk return, and least volatility in the fund. But I guess within Prisma 5, if you open up the bonnet of it, there's about 400 different assets within it. So they're very well diversified. So you don't ever be buying a small little piece of each individual company that's in it. And it'd be a mixture of cash, bonds, shares in companies, assets like gold, alternatives, some property as well. So to be extremely well diversified, and we're always looking kind of for smooth, consistent, solid returns over the long term. When you're in the mid-growth stage, now Prisma 5 would be kind of heavily built on equities, so they're shares in companies. So you have a good chance it'll be a high risk to return ratio within it, which is good because you want the exposure when you're younger, because you want to maximize your investment return while you can. As you go to the mid-growth, then that'll be reduced slightly. It'll be a similar makeup, about 400 different assets within it. And then more importantly, when you're in the last 5 years to your retirement age, you're in what's called the retirement planning stage. So it'll then be invested in Prisma 3, which is mainly built up on cash and bonds. And you'll be targeting the 25% tax-free lump sum that you can get at retirement, that everyone has access to when you get there, and 75% of it an ARF. An ARF is just a post-retirement drawdown vehicle, so you'll draw your income from that afterwards. You have other options of annuity, and you're not tied to it. You're not tied to it with this. This is just to get you there in terms of de-risking the fund over your lifetime. So they're all actively managed as well. So Zurich's investment managers are, monitored on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis, and there's also good flexibility in for anyone who does want to change. So there's a higher version and a lower version. So if you are interested in it after, when you have access to it, you can change that online too. But really, when it comes to investments, probably the most important thing is the return. And with a pension, it's the return over the long term you should always be looking at. So while the 1 year and the 3 year figure kind of jump out, because of it, that's largely kind of skewed by COVID and the bounce back in markets. But if you look at the 7 year figure there, the Prisma 5, which is the one majority of people would be invested in, if you're joining from at a younger age, it'd be 11.5% per annum return versus compared to the average of 8.5%. And that 2-3% over the long term can make a significant difference to you and how adequate your retirement is, or your fund is in retirement. I guess the other key point really to make here is between Prisma 5 and Prisma 4 and Prisma 3, you can see the return is less as you go down, and that's because they are largely invested in cash and bonds. So the funds will be kind of, the aim of the fund would to take less risk, and you obviously sacrifice a bit less return there. But you want to consolidate that fund you've built up over time. But saying that 4% per annum return is very good. And yeah, and it is, as it's a per annum return, and you can see how it does have a big impact for you over the long term. So just to move on to some of the supports, I guess, that you'll get as a member when you join as well. Obviously, online is a big part of our offer, and it's very important that you have that. You will get printed material, so you get your annual benefit statement, which will come out, and it'll give you the key information really of how your fund has performed, or the contributions you put in, and probably the most important piece of information, which is what is your fund projected to be worth at retirement. And that's something that, you know, I think if there's one thing to do with your pension any year when you're a member of it, is to look at that and see, look, is that adequate for what I want in retirement? And if not, then feel free to chat to myself or Mark, and see, you know, if you can maximize, you know, your pension to get to what you want, because at the end of the day, it's really for you, for your saving, for your retirement, that you want to do that it's there for. So excuse me. So in terms of the online supports, we'll be setting up the Zurich Connect site, and it'll cover it off kind of way more detail than I've covered off today. But it's got all the kind of investment choices, it's got retirement guides, it's got tools, so you can do pension projection tools. There's some videos there explaining you know, how, you know, compounded interest and the importance of investing, and it's really useful. And it's also a whole kind of key scheme contact details too as well. So the administration team, Mark would have mentioned, will be there, or contacting your employer as well. If you join the scheme, you'll get your own specific login. You can access it through the Connect site, but within that specific login, you'll have kind of real-time information of how your fund's performing. You'll have pension protection tools, so if you have X amount in your fund, it'll take that and project it forward. And I think they're really useful, to use. And you'll also have kind of soft copy of any documentation that we issue out as well, and you're able to update some personal details on that too. So really good. That you'll get that if you join probably a few days after you get your member welcome booklets. So just to kind of give you a quick screenshot of what that looks like, this is actually a new dashboard. It was improved there in the last few months, and it was designed just to have all the key information straight to hand for you. So the fund value, the premiums paid in, you can see the breakdown of what your employer's contributed for you and what you've contributed as well, and your AVC. You can also do risk assessment tools there as well. So if you are you're not sure if it's appropriate, you can do a questionnaire, and it's not financial advice, but it gives you a good indication of like what risk you're happy to take. When you can see there, the person on this one has done it, and they've 4, and their profile is 4. So you'd say they're probably reasonably in a good position there. There's a few kind of key prompts down the bottom here, in terms of the pension protection tool that I mentioned, and how do you increase your contribution, and what happens when you get there, because obviously getting to retirement and accessing it is obviously very important, and how you did understanding that process is key. I mentioned it a few times, the pension projection tool. So this is, I think it's always very important to know what kind of small contributions you have, what difference it can make. So this is someone currently contributing to €200 per month, and they've put in an extra €100 per month now. So the value on the left is the 200 to 244,000 is what the pension is projected. This assumes only kind of a 1.9% of investment return, so it's very conservative. But if they decide to put in an extra €100 per month, they get 361,000 at retirement. So what's that? That's a 30 grand extra of a tax-free lump sum for you when you get there. So you can see how kind of a relatively small increase in your pension can make a big impact. Now this is over someone who's around 30 years old, so it's obviously a long time to retirement. But it's good to go in and play around this and see what is affordable, because you know, affordability is key when it comes to pensions, because you know, there's significant benefits, but you know, you won't access it for a long time, depending on how close you are to retirement. So I guess, look, that's very much a whistle-stop tour of it. And I guess just the kind of the next steps, if you want to join the scheme, then there is on the initial setup, there's no need for an application form to be completed, and that's to obviously join from March, as Aaron mentioned earlier on. You will have to opt in, so you can email Aaron just to confirm that you're joining the scheme. And if you are contributing AVCs, obviously you just let them know the amount so it can be included for the next payroll. If you want to have any one-to-one meetings or discuss anything in private, so you might have other benefits or older benefits, or you're not sure how much exactly to contribute, please give myself a shout, and between myself and Mark we can have a chat with you and set up a meeting. And then after that, then we'll all look after everything else. So you'll be a member of the scheme. You'll get your member booklets probably middle of April-ish, towards the end of April. You'll get your welcome packs, and you're good to go, and you're a member of the scheme. So I think my email's now on the next one, so if you want to jot it down. But I might say, Mark, if you've anything to come in there on.
Yeah, thanks, Lenny. I suppose just to recap for everybody, like, I mean, the first point really is that there is an onus on all employees, including myself and Lenny, to kind of take ownership of our retirement planning. And, you know, as Lenny pointed out, there are serious issues in relation to the state pension funding at the moment. There's a huge deficit, and, you know, the government have taken a number of initiatives. They've extended out the retirement age. They've put a freeze for 10 to 12 years there, for a long period of time, where people in retirement were not receiving any increase every year. But obviously, like, utility bills are still going up, so there's a lot of, you know, media attention around that. And I suppose for a lot of people working in IVC, you know, maybe retirement is a little bit down the road, and it's kind of, it can seem that it's not something to prioritize at the moment. But the longer you contribute to a pension scheme, the bigger the funds that you will get. And it's down to obviously your contributions that are going in, but it's also making the investments work for you. And it's the compounding effect over the period of time that really adds benefit. And that's one of Zurich's main key, I suppose, differentiators from our competitors, is that we're very good at investment management. So really the decision for yourself is, one, do you want to join? As Aaron said, it's completely voluntary. There's no requirement for you to join at this point. They are talking about bringing an auto enrollment down the line, the government, and it's to kind of address that issue in relation to retirement planning, where everyone will be automatically enrolled into a pension scheme, and then they can opt out periodically. So that's the key issue. The second point then for yourself is, you know, do you want to contribute more than you know what the rules say? So 2%, as what Lenny indicated. And, you know, we're very cognizant that there's a lot of other pressures on people at the moment. So we're available to you to help you through, you know, work that out. Zurich offer our holistic employee engagement program. So we have financial advisors in-house who can help you with, you know, savings, mortgage, saving for a mortgage deposit, or saving for children's education, or providing protection for any assets that you have. So it's not just all about the pension, but it is important that you consider it and keep it on your radar. And don't think just if you're young that it's something to consider down the line. It's something that everybody has to consider throughout their working life. And then the communication part. So, like, we do have all those online facilities for you. They're available 24/7. It's real-time information. So when you log in, you'll see it's the actual value of your policy. You'll be able to see all the transaction history of contributions going across. A couple of interactive tools there that Lenny ran through. But behind that, don't forget that, you know, myself and Lenny are there to support you. That's our job. Our job is to kind of help you understand it. So there's lots of information, but, you know, just to kind of figure out what's the important part, that's our role. So, I mean, going forward, if not today, maybe tomorrow, Aaron, we can send out the copy of the member explanatory booklet and our contact details as well. So, you know, we're happy to take any calls now, any questions now, as we said, or follow up later on.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Lenny. Yeah, I've got an email kind of semi-drafted to send out, but if we can catch up on that and send it out, because I'm going to send out the videos to everybody, because I'm conscious a lot of people are working in clinic and haven't been able to take time out to join the calls. I think a popular question that I might speak for everybody, and feel free to answer it, Mark or Lenny, is what if an employee already has a Zurich pension with a previous employer, or if they have a PRSA? Is that manageable by yourselves, or what's the process there?
Yeah, so when you receive, you would already have login to the Zurich dashboard in that case. So if you were to join the IVC scheme, you will see both funds. You see all your policies together on the one dashboard. I suppose, you know, if you're paying into a PRSA, this company pension scheme is going to be more beneficial for you, because it's going to have lower charging structures. Now, if you want to kind of talk about it individually, we're happy to do that. one option you could do is you could make that the old policy paid up and start on the new scheme and have to, leave the other pot frozen, so that when you come to retirement, you've got some flexibility, or you can transfer it all in. So really, it's kind of an individual discussion. There's no kind of general sweep for everybody. But if you, I appreciate that some people in the organization would already have their own retirement planning, and that's something we could talk to you individually about to make sure that whatever option is chosen is the best for you. That's the main thing.
Yeah, perfect. And I think Laura had a question. It was, what is the projected retirement age in the scheme? In the kind of sign up documents, IBC have to choose an age, and we've put down 65 at the moment, purely for the kind of the pension scheme. We don't have a set internal retirement age, as you know, we don't get people to retire at 65, but that's purposely just for the scheme.
Yep. Yes, and if somebody left IVC, they can actually draw down the retirement benefits anytime after age 50. So they're not tied into this. It's not like Lenny mentioned defined benefit schemes earlier on, where if you made a decision in relation to your pot, it affects everybody else. In a defined contribution scheme, everybody has their own policy. It's their own account under the umbrella. So if you do something with your fund, it doesn't affect anybody else. So you can take it from any time from age 50.
Perfect. I think that kind of leads on. Blanchardstown Veterinary Hospital put in what happens if you leave the company. So Mark, do you want to talk about statutory vesting?
Yeah. So if you leave within 2 years of joining the pension scheme, you're entitled to whatever funds you've paid in. So you can take a refund of contributions, in which case you'll have to pay 20% tax, or you can transfer it to another a pension scheme of a new employer, or move it into a policy in your own name. Once you pass that 2-year period, which is statutory vesting, then you'll be entitled to the contributions that are paid in by IVC. So once you pass that 2 years, you can either leave your funds in the scheme, you can transfer it into what's called a personal retirement bond, which is just moving your fund, same retirement benefits, but it's kind of you're taking ownership of it yourself, or you can transfer it into the pension scheme of a new employer. But you're not tied into Zurich and any of those decisions. If it's going to another provider, that's something for you. Maybe get some advice at the time, but the options are there for you.
Perfect. And I think just to answer, I don't know who that is in Blanchardstown Hospital, sorry, but to build on that, then if you were moving internally in between IVC, that wouldn't apply. So that carries over. If you move from a different practice within IVC, that still counts as the same employer. So just to bear that in mind as well also. And then Carol had a question. Do you have to be on an IVC contract? We're on an old contract from an old employer. No, Carol, this benefit is being opened to everybody, regardless if you're on a previous contract prior to acquisition or prior to joining IVC. It's a benefit that we're kind of eager to roll out to everybody and kind of offer it to all employees, not just vets, nurses, receptionists, also, or animal care assistants. It is open to everybody within the workforce. And I've got a guidance document with regards to how you can join, or the kind of the criteria. The only criteria we have written at the moment is that you've passed your 6-month probation, if you have one, and that's purely just kind of the lowest catchment area that we can put in place for everybody. I don't know if anybody's any other questions. If you don't want to chat, put them in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself. Or we can kind of catch up separately if you want to talk about something more private that you don't want to do in a group setting.
I think, Aaron, there's one issue there we probably didn't cover is that this is a trust-based arrangement. So there's actually a Zurich Trustee Services Limited that are responsible for making sure that the scheme runs to the benefit of the employees and make sure that it's compliant and meets all its regulations. So it's kind of held apart from IVC. So once the contributions go in, it's the trustees that are responsible for it, and the trustees that kind of make sure that the scheme runs for the benefit of the employees or the members. It's important to kind of point that out.
Definitely. I don't think there's no other questions coming in. But if nobody's on any other questions, I suppose we can leave it there. And I can send out the recording and the information pack to everybody after this call, hopefully today, if not tomorrow. And then we've got kind of a sign-up deadline for Wednesday of this week, purely for those who want to say, yes, I want to go from March. But of course, if you want to join in April, May, June, or any time following that, there's no problem with that at all. So I think, Mark, Lenny, if you're to hang on towards the end, we can see if anybody else has any questions.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Blanche 10 also, is death in service or death in service benefit included? Not at the moment. There are no other insured benefits at the moment offered by IVC. But I suppose we're continually looking to roll out benefits and kind of improve our benefit offering. The company pension scheme, it is a big one, and I suppose we're eager to do it. And then in the future, we will look at kind of other insured benefits, such as income protection or death in service. Okay, perfect. So if anybody had questions, you can feel free to ask them now, or if not, you can leave the call. And any other questions, you can follow up afterwards. Myself, Mark, and Lenny will hang on. Oh, sorry, Brendan, is that a question? All right, no problem. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much, folks.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
I think it's worthwhile hanging on. I think there was a couple of questions towards the end of the last presentation. Slowly leaving. Okay, perfect. I think there may be some individuals who've put it on and maybe stepped away for a moment. So I think we might leave it there if that's all right with you, lads.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, we're available by phone or email. We'll share our contact details with you today.